There are 4 different crisis domains, 4 different areas in which each crisis that we encounter as part of our practice will fit into. And it's really important that we know the difference because they require very, very different skill sets. The first domain of crisis is developmental crisis. And this happens just as part of a normal everyday life, and it's generally considered pretty normal. It's things like a client getting pregnant, or a client graduating from school, or you might be working with someone outside of the age bracket of young people when someone's retiring. It's how do I learn a new skill set now that I have a child, or how do I learn to create my own economy post school, and how do I become more reliant on my own means to produce income. And we call this a crisis because that's not something or a skill set that we can acquire on our own, and to not deal with that issue would have very significant impacts on the client and the people around them. The second crisis domain is a situational crisis. When we talk about that, we're talking about things like accidents, kidnappings, imprisonment, all that really ugly stuff, all the things where someone's come along and hurt another client that you're working with and done something to them in some way that is human caused and resulted in grief. A very, very different skill set, and this is the skill set that often comes with anxiety, often comes with pain, a burden, and a story. And it's not easily solved by a to-do list. And part of it is acknowledging pain, which we'll talk about in a moment. Part of it is also building a skill set in that client so that they can continue to build resilience and continue to move forward while still experiencing grief. The third crisis domain is an existential crisis. So this is when we're thinking about ourselves, and a lot of people would think about it in the context of the postmodern world that we live in, and we're thinking about things like who am I, who is my identity in, what does it mean for me to be a person, my own person, while still having a partner, what does it mean for me to live in a new country and still be myself. It's all those internal questions that can really be quite debilitating, and that moving forward, life is just sometimes not even possible without having answers to these questions. And why do I want to get up in the morning? What is my passion for life? What do I want to achieve? What's my place in this big world? Massive questions that they're not easily solved. And they're not easily solved by going to other people. They're questions that require skilled professionals to be able to work through. The fourth crisis domain is similar to situational crisis, but we call it an environmental crisis. So that's when something happens that is not caused of human error, or it's a natural disaster. So we're talking about fires, earthquakes, tsunamis. A lot of that stuff has been in the media. It's something that causes people a lot of pain, a lot of grief, and we need skilled professionals to come in there to be able to manage and to be able to provide strategic plans for that community. It's very, very much a crisis, but with the reason that we separate the situational and the environment is that often clients don't have a place to point a finger, and they don't have an object of their anger, and they don't have an object of their frustration, and a lot of their pain and anger is eternalized and very, very difficult to place. So we will talk about some strategies for responding to crises, but we need to understand they come from 4 different domains.